There is a simple rule your mind has been trying to follow, but nobody ever taught you how to use it. It's called the 3-2-1 rule. And once you understand it, overthinking stops feeling like a trap and starts feeling like something you can control. Because the truth is, you were never meant to carry this much noise in your head. Let me ask you something honestly. Have you ever laid in bed, replaying the same conversation over and over again? Thinking about what you should have said, what they really meant, why they acted that way, and no matter how much you think, you don't get clarity. You just get more thoughts, more confusion, more anxiety. If that feels familiar, hear this clearly. It's not because you're weak. It's because your mind is overloaded, not broken. And what most people don't realize is this. Overthinking is not a thinking problem. It's a direction problem. The mind doesn't know when to stop unless you give it structure. And this is where the 3-2-1 rule changes everything. Observe, detach, control. This is the anchor. Now let me show you how it works. Psychology shows that the human brain is designed to solve problems, not sit in uncertainty. So when something feels unclear, emotional, or unresolved, your mind starts searching. It loops, it replays, it tries to figure it out. But here's the hidden truth. Most of the things you overthink cannot be solved by thinking, and that's why you feel stuck. I once knew someone who kept checking their phone every few minutes, waiting for a message, reading into silence. Did I say something wrong? Are they losing interest? What changed? Days went by like this, not because anything actually happened, but because their mind filled the silence with stories, and those stories felt real. This is what overthinking does. It creates problems that don't exist, and makes them feel urgent. So instead of fighting your mind, you need to guide it. That's the 3-2-1 rule. Let's break it down. 1. Notice 3 thoughts. The first step is simple. You don't stop your thoughts, you notice them. When your mind starts racing, pause. And identify 3 thoughts clearly, not emotionally. Just observe them like a third person. For example, they haven't replied. Maybe they are ignoring me. Something feels off. That's it. No judgment, no reaction. Because what most people don't realize is, the moment you observe your thoughts, you separate from them. You are no longer inside the storm. You're watching it, and that alone weakens it. Observe, detach, control. 2. Question 2. Assumptions. Now comes the deeper layer. Out of those 3 thoughts, pick 2 and challenge them. Because overthinking is built on assumptions, not facts. Ask yourself, do I actually know this is true? Or am I guessing? A woman once told me she was convinced her friend was upset with her. She replayed everything, analyzed every word, created distance in her mind. Days later, she found out her friend was just busy, dealing with family issues. Nothing was wrong. But her mind had already created a full story. This is what happens when you don't question your thoughts. They become your reality. And so you interrupt the pattern. You remind yourself, not everything I think is true. And suddenly, the intensity drops. 3. Take 1 action. This is the most important step because thinking without action feeds anxiety. You take 1 small, controlled action. Not emotional, not reactive, intentional. Maybe you send a simple message. Maybe you shift your focus to work. Maybe you put your phone away. Maybe you go for a walk. It doesn't have to solve everything. It just has to move your mind out of the loop. Because the brain calms down when it feels movement, and control comes from action, not overanalysis. Here's the deeper truth most people miss. Overthinking is not about the situation. It's about control. When you feel uncertain, your mind tries to regain control by thinking more. But real control comes from clarity, not noise. And the 3-2-1 rule gives you that clarity. 3 thoughts, 2 questions, 1 action. Simple, but powerful. Think about someone who always seems calm, even in confusing situations, even when things feel uncertain. It's not because they don't think. It's because they don't chase every thought. They observe. They detach. They choose what deserves their energy. And they let the rest pass. Observe. Detach. Control. So the next time your mind starts racing, don't fight it. Don't drown in it. Guide it. Use the rule. And watch how quickly the noise fades. Because the moment you stop believing every thought is the moment you start controlling your mind. Is if this made you see your mind differently. Comment below. I control my thoughts. And think of one person who is always stuck in their head. Share this with them. Because sometimes, one simple rule can give someone their peace back. Good. Because now we go deeper. To the part most people never fix. They learn how to slow their thoughts. But they don't understand why those thoughts keep coming back. And if you don't understand that, overthinking will always return. Just in a different form. Observe. Detach. Control. There is a hidden pattern behind every overthinker. It's not intelligence, it's not sensitivity, it's emotional attachment to uncertainty. Let me explain. Your mind does not obsess over everything. It chooses specific situations, specific people, specific moments. Why? Because those situations carry emotional weight. Something feels unfinished, unclear, unresolved, and the brain hates unfinished loops. Psychology calls this the open loop effect. When something feels incomplete, your mind keeps returning to it, not to hurt you, but to close it. But here's the problem. Not all loops can be closed through thinking. And this is where most people get trapped. Imagine someone who suddenly pulls away. No explanation, no closure, just distance. Now your mind starts asking, what happened? Was it me? Did I lose them? You replay everything. You analyze small details. You try to find the moment things changed. But no answer comes. So the loop stays open. And your mind keeps going back, again and again. This is not overthinking. This is your brain trying to finish a story that was never completed. So how do you close a loop that has no answer? This is where real control begins. The internal closure shift. Most people wait for external closure, an explanation, a message, a clear answer. But powerful people don't wait. They create internal closure. They decide what something means, instead of chasing what it could mean. I once met someone who went through a sudden breakup. No real explanation, just silence. For weeks, they were stuck, overthinking every detail, trying to understand why, until one day they made a decision, not based on facts, but based on self-respect. They said, if someone can leave without clarity, that tells me everything I need to know. And in that moment, the loop closed. Nothing changed externally. But internally, everything shifted. This is the truth. Closure is not something you receive. It's something you create. And once you understand this, overthinking loses its power. Now let's go even deeper. The identity trap. Another hidden reason you overthink is because you attach your identity to outcomes. You don't just think, they didn't reply. You think, why didn't they reply to me? What does this say about me? Am I not enough? And now it's no longer about the situation. It's about your self-worth. And that's why it feels so intense. Because your mind is not solving a problem anymore. It's protecting your identity. A man once told me he couldn't stop thinking about a job rejection. Not because of the job itself, but because of what it made him feel. Maybe I'm not good enough. That one thought created dozens more, days of overthinking. But the moment he separated the event from his identity, everything changed. He said, "This is feedback, not a definition." And just like that, the emotional charge dropped. This is your shift. You stop making everything personal. Not everything is about you. And strangely, that gives you peace. Now here's the final level, the one almost nobody practices. Mental discipline through redirection. Most people try to stop overthinking. That's the mistake, because the mind doesn't respond to force, it responds to direction. You don't stop thinking, you replace thinking, you redirect it. Every time your mind starts looping, you move it. Intentionally, not randomly, with purpose. For example, instead of replaying a conversation, you focus on a task. Instead of checking your phone and you build something. Instead of analyzing someone's behavior, you improve your own life. This is not distraction. This is discipline. Think about highly focused people. They don't have fewer thoughts. They just don't entertain unproductive ones. They choose where their attention goes, and attention is power. So now everything comes together. The 3-2-1 rule stops the loop. Internal closure closes the loop. Identity separation removes emotional weight. Redirection replaces the loop. This is control, real control. And once you start practicing this, you'll notice something strange. The same situations that once triggered you start losing their effect. You feel calmer, clearer, more grounded. Not because life became easier, but because your mind became stronger. Observe, detach, control. Say it again. Observe, detach, control. Because the moment you master this, you don't just stop overthinking. You start seeing people, situations, and yourself with a level of clarity most people never reach. If you made it this far, comment, "I choose clarity," and think of one situation that has been stuck in your mind. Apply this today, not tomorrow. Today, because peace doesn't come from waiting, it comes from understanding.